Do you recognize this text? Please read it. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 1. Now, let's highlight a few lines. 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 2. Now the earth was
formless
and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. 3. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. 4. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." 15. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. 16. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. 17. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. 18. To govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good.
Hold it right there. Did you see the big error? Here it is. Verse 3. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The sun was created in verses 16 to 18. So what would the earth be like without it? There should be temperatures close to 0 Kelvin. So the waters in verse 2 must have been ice. No, wait. It must have been liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen, and maybe even liquid hydrogen, so there was no atmosphere. Then how can there be sound?
Did you think that was it? No. There is one more error in this chapter. The first land animals were created on day 6, and man was created near the end of that same day, but by then the dinosaurs were already extinct, as you probably know. Well, they didn't live long, did they?
Oops, there is something I forgot to mention. Genesis fails to tell us what God did during the night. I think I know the answer. Maybe he did the same thing again on the other hemisphere.
When do you think they started writing down the book of Genesis? Shortly after it happened? No, of course not. They wrote it down much, much later. Someone must have wondered how the world had come into existence. And don't forget, those people had as much knowledge of science as a toddler today. Well, ask a toddler a question, and you'll probably laugh about the answers they come up with. Some people say that God wrote the Bible, but an omnipotent person who knows everything, including what we know of science today, would not put such nonsense on paper, would he? Conclusion: the Bible was written by humans.
Let's take a look at the book of Exodus. How much of that is true, would you think? The answer is practically nothing. They fled Egypt and finally reached Israel. And that's just about it. Nearly everything else is false.
So where did these errors come from? Do you know that game in which the first person whispers a message in the ear of the second whispers the same message in the ear of the third, etc.? Have you ever ended up with exactly the same message that you started with? Of course not.
So, imagine the Jewish people on their journey through the desert. The story of their escape was told over and over again by parents to their children. And don't forget, none of the parents reached Israel. So when they started writing it down, a lot had been added, changed, or deleted. And those 2 books, Genesis and Exodus, were the base of the Jewish religion, and they were the inspiration to write all the following books. But if you start off with a lot of nonsense, you can't expect the result to make sense, can you?
Conclusion: if you want to believe in some God, any God, that's up to you. You have the right to believe what you want.
But don't use the Bible to decide what is the truth and what is not.